This is a Kindred one trick, and this is me. So, for the next 10 hours, I'm gonna try to learn Kindred in 3 steps. 1, play some normal games. 2, do some research. And 3, play some ranked games. I'm doing this because I'm trying to learn every champion so one day I can make the greatest Viego video ever. And spoiler alert, this was one of my most frustrating 10-hour challenges yet. So what runes and items should I go? For runes, there are only 2 main options. First is press the attack to help burst people down, and second is Conqueror, which helps you in long fights. I personally liked Conqueror quite a bit. Now with Kindred, you can go a lot of different builds and a lot of different items. Generally speaking, the damage items will be things like Kraken Slayer, Trinity Force, Terminus, and Blade of the Ruined King, attack speed and attack damage, but sometimes you'll need 1 or 2 defensive items like a Wit's End, Death Stance, Jock Show sometimes, as well as Steric's Gauge and Sundered Skies. These items can be very game to game, like Blade of the Ruined King and Terminus are better against tanks, and things like Steric's Gauge and Wit's End are good against teams with a lot of CC. So just mix and match some of these, have a good balance of damage and survivability, and you'll be just fine. And with that, let's jump into some games. Game 1 started off like most of my jungle videos, getting immediately invaded. What am I supposed to do here, man? Luckily, I was able to bounce back pretty quick with a double kill bot lane, and managed to get a revenge kill on Briar too. I also learned pretty quickly I'm gonna need my team to help me get marks. If they don't rotate, I'm gonna have a hard time getting stacks this challenge. The other issue with my marks is it basically tells the other team where I'm going to be. Even if I played this fight well, the other team was just ready for me. Even when I know the enemy jungler is on the other side of the map, somebody from the enemy team was there to stop me. Luckily, the enemy team spent so much time setting me behind, the rest of my team got strong enough to just win late game fights. And since I'm Kindred and I scale pretty well, I was able to do a lot of damage too. It wasn't a great game, but a win's a win. Unfortunately, my second game I forgot to press the record button, which is actually super disappointing because I did really well this game. Thank goodness someone in my chat reminded me to hit the record button the next game because right away this game started off amazing. I followed this up with a tower dive top lane to deny Gangplank a huge wave. And then I got a free kill mid because the Ahri just stayed too long. But alas, even though I had an amazing start, my team fell super far behind and it got so bad even the enemy support could 1v1 me. Jungle diff, I guess. I continued to play well in my next game too with a successful tower dive top. Into another kill on Sion when I was invading for a mark. It's amazing what happens when my team actually rotates. A little later, I was kinda not paying attention to the map while my team was fighting bot lane. Luckily, I was rewarded for this with a 1000 gold shutdown and also somehow outplaying the enemy Akali. And let's just say I put that 1000 gold shutdown to good use. Just a casual triple kill into Baron? Yeah, that fight and Baron put us so far ahead, there really just was nothing the enemy team could do, so we won the game. I think I'm getting the hang of this champion. Yeah, the next game was a complete disaster. I didn't play totally bad this game, I was getting stacks and killing the enemy jungler. But this was the game that made me realize just how squishy Kindred is and how Kindred is basically just a jungle version of my worst role, AD carry. After that, I realized I have a lot to learn about Kindred. So after my normal games, I decided to do some research on YouTube and here's what I found. First, don't overextend for marks. Marks are strong, but they are not worth dying for. So if I'm behind or don't have teammates nearby, sometimes I just have to let the marks go. 2, you can actually use marks for reverse psychology. Something cool you can do is mark one enemy and then ganking another lane. They'll think that they're safe and it'll give you some free kills. 3, marks on jungle camps always spawn in a pattern. The first mark is always on Scuttle, but after that it follows a pattern. Marks 1 through 3 will always be on Scuttle, Raptors, or Gromp. Marks 4 through 7 are always on Red, Blue, Krugs, or Wolves, and marks 8 and above are on Epic Monsters. 4, you can use this information to predict where a mark's gonna be and be there before the enemy team. That way you can get maybe a free kill or know if you need to run away. And last, your W gives you vision the enemy team can't counter. This means you can use it to scout out Baron, Dragon, or bushes without putting yourself in any danger. And with that, let's get into some ranked games. So after an absolute disaster last game and some new knowledge, I was ready to prove myself on the big stage. Ranked. And if that start wasn't good enough, the enemy Xin was doing some charity work or something and gave me another kill just to be nice, I guess. And after a super successful fight where I got a big shutdown, I knew I would have to carry my team to victory. And I did just that in my next fight. Oh my god. I don't know how I played that as well as I did, but I played it pretty freaking well. But in the end, I didn't really need to do that much because all of a sudden my team became super good and they just won fights even after I got caught out. Anyway, this fight led to Baron. And after that, all we needed was one more big fight to win the game. Also, can I just say, as a content creator, trying to get footage during a Nocturne ult is super annoying. Unfortunately, after a really good first game, my next game was a little, messy. No, your eyes don't deceive you, my top laner was, in fact, a Jhin. But he was kinda going off this game, so I decided to camp him actually. Anyway, as the game went on, my main weakness became very clear. You see, I'm used to tank and bruiser junglers like Wukong, Jarvan, and Amumu. So even though I did a lot of research, I still couldn't stop myself from stepping up too far and dying. Luckily, by that point, my team was actually super strong and they were able to just clean up the fight and win the game. Despite having some issues playing jungle, I will say nothing feels better than showing up and collecting 2 kills I definitely earned. But sometimes you gotta let other people get kills too, just so they don't end up, flaming you later. Honestly, when this champion gets ahead, it is just not fair. You got an ult that saves your life, like a billion dashes, and you scale infinitely into the late game basically. Definitely still have to get used to how squishy I am though. Alas, because I didn't know how to use my lead to its fullest potential, I lost the game. I do think being a part of 19 of our 24 kills though was still pretty impressive. Throughout this challenge, I will say one of the most frustrating things is when my team doesn't rotate to help me get a mark. But oh boy, does it feel good when they do. Dude, it's crazy that my team followed! And with such a good early game and a lot of overconfidence, I was already able to 1v2 the enemy team at just about 10 minutes. Basically. A little later, the enemy Mordekaiser kinda messed up. He ulted me and tried to dive me under tower, but I just used my ult and was, totally fine. Eventually, it just got to the point where I was super tanky because they were all AP, and I did tons of damage because I was fed as fuck. We ended up smashing them this game, and I had my best game yet. But I followed up my best game with my worst game. This game, I just kept trying to get marks and put myself in stupid situations and died for it every time. But after the game, I knew I had really messed up. I just couldn't play the game, like my whole jungle was taken. And I think my next game I overcompensated by playing a little bit too safe. Like sure, the early game actually went pretty well for me, but since I was the one ahead, I needed to actually make plays. But it's hard to make plays when I can't even leave my base. I mean, what the fuck is this? Where are these people even coming from? Even though we lost, I was determined to win my next game. I stole it, huge. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The start of this game was actually pretty good. I got an assist here, another assist there. Then we won a fight at Grubs, even though my team took forever to rotate. But it was really hard to win with our Zac just going off and dying on his own for no reason. I mean, this guy had 13 deaths and they were all so pointless. Like if he had just grouped with us at any point this game, we probably would have won. I'm extra tilted about this game because I think I played pretty well and actually managed to steal Baron and save the game. Oh, and there goes Zac by himself again. And it seemed like the losing streak was going to continue after a really bad fight at Grubs early. But the other jungler was also kinda trolling this game, so I knew I could take him in a 1v1 fight. Not a 1v2 though. And even though the score didn't seem like it, I was actually very strong this game because I had like 80 CS more than the other jungler. But in all honesty, it didn't really matter what I did this game when my Aphelios was able to do things like this. That's not legal. This is not legal. Oh my gosh. And just like that, the losing streak was finally over. With that win, it was almost like the floodgates opened and I started playing way better. I was showing up to fights at the right time and getting my marks early, even if my top laner would greed for a kill and die sometimes. I had this newfound confidence that made me think I could do anything. And I mean, sure, I wasn't a mechanical god or anything, but I think I started playing fights really well, dishing out tons of damage while also managing to stay alive, usually. I'm not totally sure if this is how you're supposed to play Kindred, but I was getting really comfortable putting myself in risky situations for kills and then using my ult to just stall for my team. I would die most of the time, sure, but I usually would end up winning the fights. And with that, I won another game. The next game we won really hard. The enemy team just surrendered in 15 minutes. It had plenty of pretty good plays that got us the lead in the first place, and some embarrassing plays we will never talk about again. My next game started off a little bit frustrating. So I hunted Kane down in his jungle and got a little bit of revenge. And literally right after that went mid and got another kill. But again, I didn't really have to do much this game. I set the Kane super far behind, got a few early kills, but the rest of my team all smashed their lanes. By the end of the game, we had more than double their kills and had destroyed every structure they had. And with that, I was on to my final game. And my final game actually started off pretty well for me. Over these 10 hours, I got a lot better at collecting my marks by both invading the enemy jungle and getting champion kills. And I learned the limits of Kindred pretty well too. How to position in fights, do a good amount of damage, and like I said earlier, usually not dying. But no amount of champion mastery was able to make up for the fact that my bot lane was 3-25 this game. But yeah, if you want to learn this champion, take your time to learn how her marks work so you can time them well, and remember, have fun.